Greetings, STC students, family, and staff members. Hey, I just wanted to give you a quick update. Hopefully, you saw the email or saw the letter that I sent earlier today in terms of our district's response to the governor's decision to extend school closure through the rest of the month. Basically, I just wanted to. Hopefully, you saw that letter. I'm going to explain that letter that I sent just a little bit more, so that there's no misunderstanding about what our district will be doing in the coming weeks. So basically, school districts were given three options in terms of what do we do now that school closure has been extended to the rest of the month. Option one was to provide no continuous learning, no additional resources to staff or to students and to families. Option two was to offer voluntary educational enrichment opportunities to students and to families. And option three was to provide required educational services to students and families. So option one, no continuous learning, we are not interested in that option. That would mean that our district would not give it any additional resources, any support to staff or families, and we've already been providing those supports and resources to students. We've already had staff members reaching out to students and to families to provide continuous learning options. So that option number one, the no continuous learning, that's just something that we're not going to do. And you've probably heard that that's the option where if you choose that option, you've got to make up time, presumably in the summer. And that's just something that we're not going to do. So I know there's been some misconception about how time is made up, and time only needs to be made up if you choose that no continuous learning option, that option number one, that we're not going to do. So don't worry. I know there's some confusion out there that we've got to make up time, and that's not accurate under the option we're going to take, which is option number two. So option number two is that voluntary educational enrichment opportunities option, and that's what we're doing right now. We've provided a extensive list of resources for families and for students. Hopefully you've seen the resource that we passed along. It provides guidance on resources for all grade levels, preschool through 12, in all subject areas. We will re-communicate that and keep communicating that to our students and families in the coming weeks. But also along with that voluntary educational enrichment opportunities, as I mentioned in my last movie, every single student in our district is going to be contacted by at least one staff member to make sure that students and staff are aware of the educational resources that are out there, as well as just making sure, hey, touching base, hey, how are you doing? How are you coping with all this? So we really want to make sure our staff members are reaching out to every single student, which they will. Many of your students have already been contacted, and many more will be contacted consistently here in the future. Also, finally, along with the resources that have been shared and the contacts that have been made, we're also setting up office hours, at least 3 hours a week, where we know our students and families can contact a teacher or teachers during that time to get any questions they need answered, to get support, to whatever our needs are of our families and of our students. We're going to make sure our staff members are making themselves available during those office hours. So that's the option we're choosing, is the voluntary educational enrichment opportunities. I want to be clear, by using that option, we do not need to make up that time at the end of the year. I know there's already been some questions asked on Facebook and through email whether or not that time needs to be made up if we continue to move forward with the voluntary opportunities, and time does not need to be made up. Finally, the third option was required educational services. If you saw my letter, we just don't, we had a good conversation amongst our administrative team talking about what that could look like. we just really feel like that would be something that we're not able to do at a high level. As you can see, I included in my letter to just a few moments ago that a recent survey of our community indicated that just over 50% of STC families have reliable high-speed internet in their homes. So knowing that only half of our families have reliable high-speed internet at home made the decision pretty easy for us. We just know we lack the resources here in our community and in our school district for all students and families to access the internet, which means we cannot guarantee equitable learning experiences for all of our students. So again, if we had chosen that required educational services option, that option number 3, that would have meant that we could guarantee that all of our students would have access to all the resources, that most of those would be available online. And again, we just don't feel like that's something within good conscience that we can do or guarantee. Also, if we did do that scenario, all students would be required to participate in classes, attendance would be taken, and work would be graded under that required educational services option, that option number 3. So again, we just and I mentioned this in the other video, that's an undertaking that takes months to prepare and to have the infrastructure in place to pull that off. And again, we just feel like as a district we're not there yet. And right or wrong, we do not have the resources in place to pull off that required educational services option. So long story short, there were 3 options. One was no continuous learning. Option 2 was voluntary learning opportunities. And option 3 was required educational services. And we're going with that option number 2, the voluntary option. Under this option, we will continue to provide resources. We'll be in constant contact, and we will not have to make up time at the end of the year. So I want to make sure that is clearly communicated to our families and our community. So with that being said, I hope this video helps out. We will continue. There's updates pretty much every day here, so we will continue to update you with the updates and with information as we get that. Hope that helps. I hope these videos, I've received feedback that these videos are helpful, so I'll try to continue to do these more here in the future for you. So hope this helps. Have a great day, and go Trojans.